Good afternoon. Getting a late start today, and we're gonna ask the cats, the tarot of the cat people, what we need to know for today. So, going into today, there's been some nervous energy already. I hope your morning is going smoothly. Yeah, just like a lot of feeling of like not having control or like feeling stuck in a situation without going into details, just not been able to feel like my home is fully a place where I can relax for a moment. So let's ask the cats what we need to know about this. So here we go. We have the Fool. The Fool upside down. And this deck is a little unique from other decks, so that's why I read from the book. The Fool is typically about stepping out on a journey. It's the very first card in the deck. It's the first major arcana and the first card, period. So looking at the Fool, we can see a young knave setting out on a journey, an androgynous figure. So one who's destined for a path of evolution, a path of growth, a path of exploration, a path of magic. And the Fool, as we all begin on our journey, we're all fools. We're all unawares of all that there is to know. And it's okay to be a fool. It's okay to not know everything. And we don't know what we don't know. But at a certain point, it is our responsibility to educate ourselves. So what this card says specifically is that there is a sense of that instead of unlimited possibility, a sense of faulty choice or bad decision or sense of indecision. So we may also be feeling apathy, hesitation, or failure to diligently proceed. So I think I don't know, what I get from that immediately is just the sense that there's a sense that I'm gonna screw up. I don't know enough to move forward. I don't know what I'm doing here. So it may be best to try to take the back seat for a moment, try to reflect honestly about yourself, about what your abilities are, what you're capable of and not, and getting others to support you in healthy ways. Like there's healthy support, and then there's over support, where people go too far for us sometimes. It is important that we all try at least to help ourselves first, but not to the exclusion of asking for support, and not asking for support in a way that obviously creates too much, what am I trying to say here? Just too much imbalance, in our relationships, basically. So to get a little more information about this, we're going to ask, tell us more about the Fool, tell us more about today, about going forward, and what we need to know. So here is our card, the Wheel of Fortune inversed. And this card is another major arcana card. This is a card about choosing, about destiny, about feeling a sense of power in our own hands. But here it's inverse, so just again returning to our book. Reverse meaning could be feeling like a failure, feeling like we're getting a sense of a bad karma coming on us, or an interruption or inconsistency due to unexpected events. So outside influences that have not been contemplated. So again, we don't know what we don't know. So things beyond, outside of our control, sort of. So these two are inverse, and they're saying that yes, we don't fully know what we're doing here, and we feel a little out of our depth and we possibly are. So what are these circumstances telling us? 9 of Swords. So this is going to, I think, give a little bit of clarity. There's a sense of frustration, a sense of there's a lot at play here. Yeah, let me like right away I can see that this cat is looking like up and supportive and telling, you know, the warrior that like, hey, it's not all lost. You gotta hang in there. Okay, so before we get really stressed about today, let's hear what this card is about. The man dressed in ceremonial costume has nowhere to go except for his companion cat. He is alone with his worries and problems. Which sword is best? He cannot choose and is tormented by indecision. He is a warrior, but glory won on the battlefield cannot compensate for his sorrow of a comrades in arms who have fallen. He holds sword loosely in his hands as he ponders whether to sacrifice and the carnage were worthwhile. So a sense of upset, concern, quarrel, unhappiness, even perhaps a sense of something lost, a loss, anxiety over a loved one or a lover, worry, despair. So all these together are just like what is being focused on is one's own sense of like ineptitude or inability or failure, or yes, I've fought this far, but what for? Like why am I even here? Why am I even going forward? So this warrior, you know, he has everything at his disposal. He can choose to do what he wishes. He can choose any sword in his arsenal. But if we don't know what we're fighting for, then it's very easy to lose the taste for the battle. So as a person who has studied different ideas of warriors, more in a spiritual sense, I may not be qualified to be a warrior, but I am a seeker of this type of battle, and I have battled to want to be here at times. I have battled to want to care. I've battled to want to keep going forward. I have battled too much with loved ones. I have battled for myself. I have battled for others and abandoned myself. And in all of it, like the losing the taste for like the desire to go on, it's really kind of the worst thing, because you're just like numb and you're just like stuck and you're just feeling like, what's the point of another day? So when we have these feelings, we often really beat up on ourselves and we feel like the blame is somehow with us, that we didn't somehow give the right message growing up, or we didn't try hard enough to achieve our dreams. And that's usually a really imbalanced view. It's like overlooking everything that you've striven for, everything that you've had to contend with, everything that's been put in your path. And like, it's so important to realize that like, we don't necessarily know why we're here, but we're certainly not here to be miserable, and we're certainly not here to stay ignorant. We're here to learn. We're here to wake up our consciousness or awareness on some level. Like, we start out as infants, and if we are fortunate enough to have a life longer than a few hours, days, then we get to see, we get to have a sense of awareness of the world, either through touch or smell or feel or possibly sight or hearing. And then we start to be able to get a sense of our own consciousness. And when these things are not impeded, they're beautiful. And these things are just free to be curious and open and explore the world around us, then it's the most beautiful thing. And the world can be so lovely and so vast and so worth fighting for. And when we're at the precipice of big change, like actually this time and today specifically, we're at the cusp of the Taurus New Moon, and this has been described as a ring of fire. It's like passing through the most painful, difficult feeling of I'm stuck, I can't go on, my energy is lost, I'm waning, and to give up at that point is like, it's like when you're about to give birth and the doctor or your spouse or whoever says breathe, push, breathe, and you're like, nah, man, it's not coming. So that's today, you know, what, however you identify gender wise, sex wise, like we're birthing something. It's about a creative birth, rebirthing of ourselves, and that shit takes a lot of courage, and most of all, it takes a lot of compassion. And you have to also know that there's something worth caring about, and like, so it's a time for you to, rather than focus on, like, it's like, are we ever going to be ready to leave the house? Like, even just to like go, if, say we're going to Disneyland, like, wow, that's been a really long time since that was even on the table, but like the feeling of like, okay, everyone's got to get ready, everyone's got to get their things, their water and their sandwiches, and you got to gather up your lip gloss and your money and your hair clips and your brush and whatever. You're bringing your jacket, and you're gathering everything, and at a certain point you're just like, oh my god, I'm already exhausted, and we haven't even like got in the car and drive there. And then you get to the park and there's a huge line, and you're like, oh my gosh, is this ever gonna be fun? And it's like hot, and you're waiting in line, and babies are crying and parents are upset, and you're like, wait, I thought this was supposed to be a good time. And then you get in and you see parents exhausted and kids wailing, and like oh my gosh, like when does this get to be fun? And then after a little while you like find that sweet spot, that magic place. Maybe it's Toontown, that used to be the spot for me, where you just can be you, and you can just let yourself run free for a little bit, and you forget that you're in this stressful situation. Your parents don't want to be here, and like other parents don't want to be here, but like they brought you here to like let you have this moment. So like this, you know, this life, we're brought here to have this moment, and you can think of like the world as one giant place to like learn and explore. It's certainly not an amusement park, but like there probably was a really long wait to reincarnate, to have this chance to live, to come here. There's also the notion, or the theory has been put forth, that this is a divine training ground, and that to come here is like to go to like a spiritual boot camp that's like so tough, but so pushing you to your highest and most powerful evolution. So whoever you were in your last life that you decided to come here and go through all this, like, bless you for like offering to like put yourself to the task, to be of service in the way you've been of service, to be a healer, and to be, you know, put through the ringer. And at this point there's so much ahead. There really is. There's like, the best has not even begun to be seen, because we're at this place where people are starting to realize how hard we have to work to make things beautiful and lasting, and to make our own hearts alive in that, to make our own battle worthwhile. We can't suffer burnout. We can't afford it. So we need to remind ourselves every day why it's worth it. And that doesn't have to be a story you tell yourself. It's literally just like finding your joy and saying yes to it, and letting your heart just say yes. Saying yes to whatever small joys there are, dreams and wishes that have yet to be fulfilled. Whatever little measure of bliss joy is your birthright and you deserve to be here. And if you can tell yourself that at least 20 times more than you tell yourself any bad message, you might start to believe it. And it's true, it takes 20 positive messages to count, and sincere, heartfelt messages to counter a negative message. So that's like been measured in like relationships, and like the Gottman Institute is like the most respected institute for studying relationships, and like they can tell you within 5 minutes if your relationship is like going to work or not, but just by observing how you interact. I think that by observing yourself, you can also get a sense like, is this going to work or not, based on how I'm interacting with myself. And if it's not, then that is something in your control. That is something in your power. It may not feel like it. You may feel at the mercy of difficult feelings and dark thoughts, but there is small opportunities for change and for transformation, and especially compassion. And that is the most beneficial solve that I know for facing any kind of obstacle, any kind of challenge. So you gotta believe in yourself first and foremost to know that you're worth fighting for. And you gotta believe in this world that it's gonna go on and be beautiful and change and evolve, and that new beautiful horizons are waiting and new untold journeys are ahead of us. I'm going to visit a beautiful place tomorrow, and I'm not going to say any more about that. I might do a reading while I'm on the plane, so I hope I get to share that sense of like expectancy, looking forward to something nice. It would be good, right? I hope you're able to receive the message of kindness and compassion to yourself foremost. All is not lost. Like, look at all the swords at your disposal. Look at all the tools available. You may not even have the sense of feeling of like, oh, I guess I just pick one. But like, actually, like if you were in battle and if you were giving all your ferociousness, like there's nothing that can stop you. You have all the tools at your disposal. If you, as the Fool, could just acknowledge that you need guidance and knew where to look for that, then you could be kind of shepherded to that right place, and you wouldn't have a sense of feeling lost. And if you, as the keeper of your own destiny, could forgive your mistakes, forgive any foibles, any loss of confidence that you've had, and realize that part of that is like also like Chiron and Aries, which is just like this hardcore messing with our sense of self, babe. I don't know if you will listen to Kai Pacha Paley Report, but Chiron, he talks about Chiron and Aries, and that is, lol, Kai Pacha, oh my god, it's been through some interesting phases, but right now I feel like the message has been, this astrological message coming through that I've been just most receiving is just that, like, we're not out of the woods yet emotionally. We're in a kind of midway point where things are gonna start lightening up, but like in a 4-year cycle. So like, I was just watching this video about a sun dance and how these Native American gentlemen decided that they needed a dance to honor the earth, they needed a dance to summon peace, and they needed a dance to just call in peace in their own hearts and their own spirits. So they asked the earth to guide them in this. They asked, the sun and the spirits and the grandfathers, the ancestors, and they were guided to create this dance and told where to do it and told in what manner it should be acted out. And this was all just like divinely, beautifully channeled, and just like it's a difficult thing to like hear about someone like puncturing their skin and dancing ritualistically and reaching a state of ecstasy like this is a beautiful response to like a sense of despair or failure, or a sense of like these men were like feeling like they were not finding a way to enact the change that they wished to see in the world. And this was the story that I heard. Like, I'm not an expert on this by any means. Feel free to explore and learn, and like as we learn from other cultures, like culture is a source of strength. So what did your ancestors do? What are people with your similar cultural background doing in response to face trauma, to face pain, to face loss? How are they coping? How are they getting through? And this cultural resilience is like a strength beyond what we can just know alone. So that's our container, and that helps hold us. And yeah, we got the whole world in our hands, and we're part of that world, and the world is part of us, and the world has us in its hands. So thinking about all that, just like proceeding with tenderness, proceeding with compassion, knowing that anything can be resolved through compassion and communication, and through time. I hope that you navigate through, and I hope that you summon your strength, warrior, and I hope that you find a reason to fight on. All my love.